All right, so they wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, focusing on streamlining the federal government by tackling inefficiencies and cutting what they view as unnecessary spending. So they want to defund unauthorized programs. The duo argues that there are over 1,200 federal programs that continue to receive funding despite lacking current congressional authorization, and cutting those programs could save over 516 billion annually, they claim. When I was doing the research on this, as far as like programs, so like Congress passes, they used to pass two bills. One was like for the funding and then the allocation. But now they just allocate the money to a certain department and trust that they handle like the disbursement of those funds. And that's in a way supposed to make it much more efficient. I was kind of having a hard time understanding like that whole like loophole. But they want to reduce the federal workforce. They propose downsizing, the federal workforce by as much as 50%. And they believe fewer employees can make government operations more efficient and cost effective. Federal agencies, they want to eliminate agencies they view as redundant, like the Department of Education and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Cutting federal regulations using recent Supreme Court rulings, they claim to limit agency autonomy and eliminate regulations they consider inefficient or outdated. And they also want to end remote work for federal. Ramaswamy want federal employees back in the office, claiming it will improve productivity and justify risk reduction, saying, quote, if federal employees don't want to show up, American taxpayers shouldn't pay them for the COVID era privilege of staying home. Which I don't get, because it's like you're going to pay the cost of this whole building to like parking, electricity, like all these things for these buildings to have all these people come back in when they could just work from the comfort of their home
Yeah.
and not have to have that overhead cost. So they say this is going to save taxpayer dollars, increase efficiency, and limit overreach with cutting regulations. But this could have an effect, a huge effect on essential services. Um, the Department of Education, disrupting critical services relied on by millions of America. Job losses, downsizing the federal workforce could result in significant unemployment, especially in regions reliant on government jobs. So, economic ripple effects. This could harm contractors, small businesses, and local economies that depend on federal funding. And critics also say dismantling federal regulations and limiting agency powers could lead to lengthy legal battles, and forcing people to go back into the office could lower productivity and morale, especially for those who thrived in remote working sessions. So, or settings, excuse me. So, yeah, go ahead.
So maybe I shouldn't out myself. Maybe I should stay uh, hidden. But I am a federal civil service employee. I'm one of the 2.3 million of them, and apparently I have 50-50 odds here hanging over me. But yeah, we had a town hall right after the election, and we had a town hall just today, and we're talking about the changes that are coming. And what everybody in our office has always been worried about is whether we're going to have to all go back 100%, because even before the pandemic we were work from home for like 4 out of 5 days a week, right? Depends on your tour duty schedule. So but I literally was on a call with my regional office director, and she was just like, well, there's this Department of Government Efficiency, and it's just like it's seriously now within like the government zeitgeist. We are all anticipating this thing being a thing, and
Yeah,
people at our RO, like most of us are veterans, right? Most of us are veterans because I mean it's the VA, right? And we had very good work from home beforehand, and now everybody's like, man, they're just gonna make us go back to the office, 100%. And it's just like I don't even know if our office has enough room for that, because we've just been so used to like work from home for such a long time, even before the pandemic. But yeah, I mean, some of us are kind of left wondering, like, what are they going to be able to do legally to be able to like cut the government 50%, because that is a huge cut. And for that to happen quickly, there'd probably be a lot of lawsuits. But yeah, everybody's thinking about it now because if we're at the VA, people don't like playing political football with the VA. If we're thinking about it and worrying about it a little bit, then yeah, I guess people are taking this very seriously about a possible coming reduction in force or all back to the office, even though we were pretty much working from home most of the time beforehand. But
Mhm.
hopefully, hopefully nobody who's cutting jobs sees this video, sees me saying this.
It would
Yeah,
be a huge shock to the system. I mean,
yeah,
disrupting services that people rely on, right? Like that's going to spark a lot of outrage. Um,
yeah.
and like I said earlier, in like a place where there's a lot of federal employees, right? Like say you eliminate, I don't know, 5,000 jobs in DC. Now you got 5,000 people who are unemployed. Do they get unemployment benefits? Are they going to get severance packages? Like stuff like that. What do you think of this whole thing? The Doge. Well, you mentioned it earlier a little bit ago, but
I mean, I kind of want to,
it's
kind of want to laugh at it and be just, but it's just like I've been laughing at Donald Trump for like 8 years. Ah, look at the silly clown. It's like, well, not so silly anymore, is he? He never was he ever. And it's just like, well, okay, we'll see what they. I mean, they got to get some authority from Congress. I think like it's not going to be a real department unless they pass some laws. So I mean, that was funny. Elizabeth Warren, like as soon as they started talking about this, Elizabeth Warren was like, "Oh yeah, Department of Government Efficiency with two co-leaders, co-equal leaders running this department." She's like, "That's very efficient. Sounds very efficient to me."
right.
Apparently, Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to be like a vice president or a vice chair or whatever this is as well. So
Wow.
I don't know. Maybe we're about to have a very robust and efficient government. Who knows? Stranger things have happened, and hopefully I keep my job. The amount of people who are not even in the federal government who are like, I don't know if I'll keep my job because I have a friend who's in like environmental education, and a lot of her budget comes from like federal government subsidies. So it's like, well,
Mhm.
environmental education is probably going away, so my job's probably going away. And it's just like, man, so many people who aren't even in the federal government are thinking about their jobs might be on the line. But who knows? We'll see. I've had a pretty good life, been a pretty good run. Can't complain.
I'm telling you, dude, like this is just wild. So I've been seeing a lot of videos of FAFO,
Um,
and people not knowing. One of the huge things they want to gut is the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, which was coined
mm,
Obamacare by his critics. Um, and it's astonishing how many people did not know that those two things were the same thing, the Affordable Care Act and Obamacare. I
hmm
saw this video of this guy talking about how, I hope Trump guts Obamacare, that terrible legislation, but he better not touch the Affordable Care Act because that's how I get my insurance and stuff. There have been so many stitches of that video,
Yeesh.
that clip, but seeing the Google search trends surge after the election, like people trying to do research after the situation was done and over with. Wild.